Be'ez Hashem Pashas Chayis Sora, Tavshin Pei Daled. We all know the Gemara in Brochas Dafei. Tani Reb Shimon Yichoi Oime. This is a Braise. Reb Shimon Yichoi says, Sholosh Matonis Tovet Nasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Three very good and deep presents that Matana that Rebbeinu Shem gave for Yidden, but all of them were given Al Yudei Yisurim. You had to go through suffering to be able to get to the Matana. Eluhein Torah ve'Eretz Yisrael v'Olam Haba. In order for a person to achieve Torah, they have to work hard to the extent that there's Yisurim that a person has to go through to be able to really be koine Torah. And the same is with Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael niknas bi Yisurim and Olam Haba. So the Maral is on it's the Akdoma to Drush al HaTorah. The Maral explains that these matonos are spiritual matonos. The Ruchnius. Torah, it's simple, Olam Haba, but even Eretz Yisrael, the Maral says Eretz Yisrael is a land, but the matona of Eretz Yisrael, the koyach that lies in Eretz Yisrael, it's something it's a Ruchnius, it's spiritual, it's not something that you could, it's not tangible, it's a Ruchnius. And because of that, a person has to be refined, a person has to go through Yisurim to be able to be elevated. He should be more Ruchnius than a person, and only when that happens, that's when he could be'emes connect to Eretz Yisrael. That's when he could get the real matona of Eretz Yisrael. Because if the person didn't go through Yisurim, then the person is not be'emes. He can't really connect to the neshama of Eretz Yisrael. Meaning to say, it might be a sad story for some people, start understanding, but if someone thinks, oh, Baruch Hashem, I got away scot-free. Okay, it says that Eretz Yisrael is niknas bi Yisurim, but Baruch Hashem, it didn't happen to me. So in a certain sense, after you learn the Maral, the person is still before Eretz Yisrael. Why? For a simple reason, because to be able to live here, okay, so maybe sometimes a person was born here, or whatever it is, they didn't have to go through suffering. Baruch Hashem, they're well off, and they have themselves a villa somewhere, in a gorgeous area in Yerushalayim. They have a view, but they don't have Eretz Yisrael. Because Eretz Yisrael is something that's Ruchnius, and it's not possible before a person develops those Ruchnius, the spiritual emotion. I'm calling it emotion for lack of a better term, because it's deeper than that. Mm-hmm. If a person doesn't take out this neshama part of himself, then he doesn't have the tools. So he's not feeling Eretz Yisrael itself. If a person, b'derech klal, if he wants, b'derech shodam roitze leilech melichem oisei, a person wants Rebbeinu Shalom, so then the Eibishter gives situations and nisyonis. Sometimes it's poverty, sometimes it's different, they're uncomfortable, and they work on themselves to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom on a deeper level, and then you could get Eretz Yisrael. And the same with Torah, of course, as long as a person is just on a recliner looking, they're not really going to Torah. They could have a bit of information, but the koyach that lies in Torah, of course, it's when a person is working hard only on Yidei Yisurim. It's not possible without some kind of Yisurim, which could do the job to the person to make the person be more ruchniisdik, and then they're qualified. It's possible for them to be able to sense and to be able to connect to Eretz Yisrael and Torah and Olam Haba. The question is, how does that be'emes work? The Yisurim turning the person into a better person. What's the pathway? That means if he has his suffering, so what happens to a person while they're suffering, which makes the person into a better person? Let's open a little bit more detailed. What happens to a person when they're suffering, which can make them be a better person? Now, let's try to remember the last time a person had a disappointment. Sometimes it's a bigger disappointment. What goes through the person's mind? Now, usually, when a person is put in a situation that they're uncomfortable, again, sometimes it's much deeper than just plain uncomfortable, but it's not what they wanted. and it's unfolding slowly, getting worse, harder, whatever it is, very challenging. So that usually puts the person in a spot that they have to think. What are they thinking? Now, a person has a tendency to right away feel as a victim. That means they feel why? What's going on here? Why do I deserve this? Was I so bad that I deserve this? And then that turns into blaming. Now, a person blames someone else, but really, in the subconscious, there's a little bit of blaming the Rebbeinu Shalom, that I wouldn't say it, but they're a little bit upset that their plans are being ruined, and they don't know why they deserve such a kind of hanhoga. What happened? Now, as long as a person is in this ma'agal, it means in this train of thought, that's like the beginning of a person exercising their muscles. Now, the psukim in Nach explain that Menashe, which was a Melech Yisrael, he tried to turn to every Avodah Zarah when he was trying to be saved. He wanted to save his life. He tried this Avodah Zarah, nothing worked. And he had to go through all options until he got to the last one. And then he turned to Rebbeinu Shalom, and his tefillah was answered. We actually learned tefillah from Menashe. And Hashem wanted that Menashe should come onto the world in order he should get to this matzah. So we should be able to learn from Menashe this concept, that even if a person was a Rasha, but if he's davening for real, when he gets there and he means it, his tefillah is going to be accepted. Now, a person, when they go through Yisurim, they go through a journey. There's a journey. The journey is, like we said in the beginning, there's a feeling of victim. Then there's different types of feelings, which is, okay, I'm just going to do what I need to do to fix this. I'm going to do whatever it takes, because I'm not going to let myself just be dragged into this matziv. And sometimes it comes from a wrong place, that they feel that they could really be in charge and they could really be on top of the game, because they're just going to make sure it goes their way. And when that fails as well, then sometimes they go back to victim. And it goes back and forth. When is the geula of the person? When they tried all that and it didn't work. Sometimes it takes years. It takes years because they go around, they speak about it, and everybody in the shul knows that this is what's going on. They speak to every person about the bitterness that they have. Sometimes people cope with different coping mechanisms. That means that hiding it, kilo, nothing happened. Another way of hiding it in order not to ruin their image. But when a person is finished with all the coping mechanisms, and then they come to the conclusion, Ein adover tolu elobi. Like the Gemara says, that means they come to the conclusion that, listen, it's up to me to make the right decision under the circumstances. What does it mean to make the right decision? To change my train of thought to the only right way of thinking. All the rest, wrong. And they come to the conclusion that the Rebbeinu Shalom is right. I deserve it. I could fix it. That's the famous saying. So for sure you could fix. That means a person figures out that, why am I in a rut? It has to do with me. Many times a person could figure out why something happened to them. And even if they didn't figure out, they're sure that this is what's supposed to happen. They're thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom because they have a clarity that it's for sure the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing what's supposed to be happening with me. I'm clear. Even I don't know exactly, but it could be, it's like a person says, I don't know if it's because I once lied, or it's because maybe I did this wrong, but it could be all of the above, so I don't know the right answer. It means
also what we said in the earlier shiurim, the Tov L'Kiyunesi.
Tov L'Kiyunesi. It could be a different Gilgul, why they went through. It could be because the Rebbe wants to bring him to the Achnoah. The Nakuda is that the Rebbe is right. That means the Rebbe is doing what's best for me right now. They drop charges. They leave go trying to change the matzav. They leave go trying to blame. They leave go of everything, and they thank the Rebbe for the situation, and they do tshuva. It could be on something minor. It's just a mindset. Doing tshuva is the mindset. Let me try to start fixing. Whatever I fixed, it doesn't matter right now if you were on target or if it was a huge change. It's more that I turned course. I mean, I went to the mahalach of fixing, of becoming closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what we call zichoch. That's what the Maral, that's the first level, the first step. What the Maral says, when a person goes through Yisurim, something happened. You know what happened? Being that they're not in their comfort zone, they're in Golus. Golus means they're wandering from place to place, not finding peace. They're here one night, they're there the second night. That's the idea of Golus. Tzaddikim that went Golus. In the person's nefesh, the Golus is that they're fighting, and every night they have a different idea. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. That's called Golus. That means they're not yet elamanucha v'lanachla. They're not in peace with themselves. With the Rebbe Shem, it's just fine. Thank you, Rebbe Shem. Yeah, I'm good. They're not. Every day they're trying something else, or they're blaming, or they're trying to fix it, or they're stamazoi depressed because of their matziv. That's going around. When they leave Golus, you know what's the Nakuda of Geula? When they chap that if they're going to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom, they could go out of their Golus. They could go out of their Golus. Now, this concept is by Klal Yisrael the same that it's by the Prat. That means an individual. Klal Yisrael as a whole is going through the same concept. That means they were in Eretz Yisrael and they didn't do what they were supposed to, so they had to go to Golus. As long as a person feels that they could make Seder, they're just going to do it, and it's just going to work out, then they can't really go out of Golus. You can't go out of Golus like that. So they try this, so they try that. They try and try and try. It just doesn't. It doesn't have the yicholos to bring Geula. And it's very, very important for these days when a person has to have their mind straight, whatever's going on at Yisrael with everything. It's so simple. It's so emes. That means it's not even possible to argue. That it's not possible to leave Golus with a bright idea. It just doesn't work. It's so, it's simple. It's clear like day. Just watch what's going on. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to get messed up. Even you're going to do things that, quote unquote, is a right thing to do, but it can't really change Golus into Geula. It's only when a person realizes that realization that only tshuva could help, only coming close to the Rebbeinu Shalom could help, but nothing else is going to work. That helps a person. And the same way a person knows the feeling of they feel like a different person, to the Klal Yisrael is the same exact concept. When Klal Yisrael is going to understand that, we leave the Golus that we're in. The main Golus that a person is because their mind is in Golus, and it's very important that a person should remember there is no way out. There's a tafkid of Umay Sa'olam. They have a mission. the nations have a mission to bring Klal Yisrael to that understanding that we have to Ein lanu al mili yishoin ela lovinu shabashamayim. The mind has to get that has to feel like that. We need tefillah, we need tshuva. This is what we need so badly, because as long as a person doesn't remember that, so be'em is there, or they're blaming, or they're a victim, or they're going around in circles, forgetting the main concepts of Amunah. And the Yisurim, they bring it. Eretz Yisrael is not. You can't get Eretz Yisrael only by going through the process. It's not about the Yisurim. It's what the Yisurim do to the mind. If the mind is going to finally get it, then a person is ready to be koine Eretz Yisrael for the individual and for the Klal Yisrael. Once we understand it, there doesn't have to be Chas V'Shalom the worst Yisurim. That's not the point. Many Gdolim in the previous generation that spoke about the Zman HaGeula said the same sentence, said the same musogim, concepts that before Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be a very big pachad. It's going to be very, very scary. That's what they use. They use this term. The word pachad is something that forces a person to decide, what am I thinking? What's something that comforts me? What is a truthful, a real machshav that's supposed to comfort me, and what's something that's not the truth? When a person just is not in control, what comforts them, then they're not using the pachad as a tool to put them in the right place. It's like the Gemara says in Masechtas Brochas that sometimes people go through Yisurim, but being they weren't makabel the Yisurim, it didn't do the job. Being makabel the Yisurim means that a person works through their mind and he comes to terms that the Rebbeinu Shem is right and the Rebbeinu Shem is doing what's best, and I'm not in charge. There's a balabos. This whole mahalach, this is what's so important. If there's already anyways Yisurim, I know good, but if there's already pachad, so there's something you have to turn it to the right direction, because then it forces a person to have the right bitachon. It takes a person up like any nisoyan, and it brings a person not to be falling asleep in their Yiddishkeit, just to go higher and higher. Now,
is that what happened to
Eov? That means he went through all kinds of Yisurim.
But did he do tshuva?
Oh, so the Gemara says in the end he got back everything.
Yeah.
The psukim.
But did he do tshuva? Did his mind change? I don't know if that's clear in here.
Most of it talks about how the person feels while they're struggling.
Right.
Eov is the sefer that it's a gewaldig, it's a gewaldig way to bring it out. That means the Torah, part of Nach, is one of the Sifrei Nevi'im, is explaining how a person feels when in that battle trying to fight what's happening to them. Why is it part of Nach? It should be in Geniza. I don't know what. It's Epicurus. No, it's Torah. It's Torah because you have to understand there's a process. Someone that says Yisurim, all right, I'm fine. I'm a Kal Yisurim Bahava. He didn't have Yisurim. I saw once that Reb Shimon Shkop. I should have the sefer here. Reb Shimon Shkop, he once had, it was a Friday, and he was missing I don't know exactly where it is. He what happened? Something with a chicken over there. Here it is. Eitzel Agoyin Reb Shimon Shkop. Once what happened was at Erev Shabbos, they had bought a oif, a chicken for Shabbos, and it just disappeared. They had no idea where it is. After a few hours, they found it, and the Rebbetzin of Reb Shimon Shkop asked him. His wife asked him, "Why were you so calm?" It means, okay, no chicken. But I saw it didn't budge, it didn't touch you. So he said, I'll tell you the truth. When it disappeared, I didn't feel that it hurts me. So I understood it's not Yisurim. Because if the Eibusher wants to send me Yisurim, he knows what hurts me. So what happened was, it didn't hurt me, so I knew if it's not Yisurim, nothing's going on right now, we'll find it. If it's Yisurim, I'm supposed to be going through something. But if it's not Yisurim, because I saw it, it didn't bother me. So he said Yisurim is so it just hurt, and a person should put their mind to it. And then there's a process that happens, Yifashpesh Remaisav and all that. Back to what you mentioned, that the Sefer of Eve is not to bring out Dafka, the Emunah, that you learn in the Torah, Anoich Hashem Elokecha. So many psukim. Sefer of Eve is to explain to a person, look what happens. Look, this is the process. And this process is something very, very important. It's extremely important. Why? Because that's when a person is doing the real work with himself. Back and forth and back and forth. That's the Yisurim. If it would be with a click, then they wouldn't gain. It wouldn't happen. They wouldn't turn into a new person. The new person that a person turns into is because they were bothered emotionally, and they had all these questions, and they were fighting, and dropped, until they turned into, they became a new person. Every person that went through such a journey in life feels that they became a new person. Some people had it in money. They fighting to become a millionaire, and that day that they chapped, there's nothing happening. Every person, wherever it is in their Yisurim. Now, back to what we were discussing, what happens when a person makes the right decision? Something happens. What is that? They start thinking, the Rebbeinu Hashem is running my life, and it's for the good, and they start thanking, and they realize it. That means they chap it. It's not only that they're saying it, they leave go, they feel it's the best thing for them. Now this is what happens. Being that they're thinking the right machshavas, so they will now makayim a bunch of mitzvahs. Right there. 1, 2, 3, they're makayim a bunch of mitzvahs. Ooh. If you're makayim mitzvahs, then you get schar. What's the schar? So we learned in the Rambam that besides what's happening in Olam Haba, on Olam Hazeh, what happens is that a person starts getting a type of life of Yeshuva Das, that they could understand what's going on, they could now have time, and when we say time, we don't only mean that they have another hour, it's more that they have the capability and they have the mindset, they could sit and learn, they could be Mekayim more mitzvahs, their life turned around, they could feel life, and then they could be Mekayim more mitzvahs, so they could have more chiyas. That's what happens to them. That's what the Rambam says. That's the schar, that they could utilize Olam Hazeh to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You know what that means? That means that after the person went through the initial machshavas, the right ones, that goes up, and then he gets schar, that he gets the real das. That means that's from above. From above, he tried, he was working. The Torah says, well, after the Torah says, try to think what's good about it, say it out of your mouth, thank the Rebbeinu Shalom. Then what happens is that you get das. Once you get das, then it's higher than that. It's just be'emes. You be'emes start feeling a deeper sense of that the Rebbeinu Shalom is helping, the Rebbeinu Shalom is bringing me to be a better person, and it helps them to do tshuva. They start living a new type of life. That's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants a person to get to, and that's the Torah. That's the Olam Haba. That's the Eretz Yisrael. I mean, that's what you get in return. You had Yisurim. The Rebbeinu Shalom is giving you in return Das. Das is that the Rebbeinu Shalom is giving you what you really need. So that's really the person's life in a nutshell. Constantly, they're fighting the situation that they're in. It could be small little parts of a person's life. And once in that area, they really understand that they're in the Rebbeinu Shalom's hands, then that area turns into light. They conquered. It's like a Melchama. They got another piece of life, which is Toradik, which is Eretz Yisraelic. And the tachas of a person is to conquer more and more areas in their life where they're living right, they're thinking right, the machshav is set up in the right mahalach. We know that one of the mitzvahs of Eretz Yisrael is mitzvah Shemitah, which is if you live in Eretz Yisrael, you have to be able to come to terms that a year, every 7 years, for a full year, no income. And that's very hard. People, for one day that they take off and they know they're gonna have to give up their income from that day, they think 5 times beforehand. If they go on a vacation, it's like planned for 2 years beforehand, so they should be able to swing it. A year no income, we know what that means, a year no income. It doesn't only sound, it's be'emes. And isn't it asking a lot? Usually the Torah is set up in a mahalach, in a way that every person could find their way. It means we learn Torah. If you can't, then kviyasitim. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says you said Krishma in the morning. There's mahalach. They could be yoytze limud Torah like that. Eina Kodesh Baruch Hu ba betrunyim b'Yosef. The Gemara in the beginning of the Zohar, which means Hashem was never going to test you something that you're not up to there. If a person davening, there's certain basics of davening that's ma'akiv that you have to daven. Of course, a person could spend 2 hours davening, it's beautiful. But if you said Birchas Krishma, which Shemona is like the minimum of the minimum. This is like a type of mitzvah if you think about it. I think it's off the charts.
And it's for every single person.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. If you want to take a big, who knows what, and you want to say he should fast Shovavim from Motzei Shabbos to Friday night straight, no problem. Be my guest if you're up to that daraga. But to take regular people, farmers, no income a full year. It a little bit goes against. We don't chab because we're not in that nisayon. Most of us, we're not living through that nisayon. And today everything is like modernized. It's going to be a keren, it's going to be a tzedakah, whatever. But it's not like kilu. They're called giboyer koyach oised voroi. They're called the Eves giboyer. That's what the Medrash says on them. They're giboyerim. What's the simple answer why the Rebbeinu Shem gave such a hard mitzvah? It means it's something that's for a full year. I think the last Shemitah we had was a Ibiyah. It was 13 months, And then there's Tosfos Shvius, don't forget. Before or after. The answer is because it's connected to Eretz Yisrael. It's be'emes, something that has connection. It's only in Eretz Yisrael. Shemitah is only in Eretz Yisrael. The Torah says clearly that if you don't keep Shemitah, it's not possible to have Eretz Yisrael. The mile of Eretz Yisrael, the light, you don't have Eretz Yisrael. If you do keep Shemitah, the Psukim say, "B'shaftem al ha'oretz levetach," you're going to be not having these crazy wars. Yishaftem al ha'oretz levetach. You're going to be safe. But levetach is not safe. Levetach is sure. Secured, and there you're going to be in Eretz Yisrael in the best matzav. They say that one of the Gedolim, they said, how did he always see the right mahalach? He said, I asked Balabos, and I knew the das Torah is hepech das Balabais, and that's how I knew what's the truth. So if you want to know the real tight v'shaftan la'oretz levetach, the opposite of now. If you have Shemitah, then you're going to have Eretz Yisrael. It says it twice in the Pasuk. And being that it says it, so the Ramban and the Abarbanel, they all explain that not only you'll have Eretz Yisrael, just you'll have Parnosa Bar Chova. That's the second time. But once we learn the Maral gives us a different understanding. The Maral says you'll have the real Eretz Yisrael, what Eretz Yisrael could do for your neshama. You could feel the kirva to the Rebbeinu Shem, the closeness. It's a whole different type of life. In Eretz Yisrael, you can't have Eretz Yisrael without Yisurim. It doesn't work. In the Torah it says that Eretz Yisrael is just going to literally spit you out. And it says, Soki Oretz, Yeshver, because it's not possible. Because something that's so spiritual, something that's like Olam Haba and Torah, it doesn't work otherwise. It just doesn't work. It doesn't go together. It just falls apart. It's not a good shidduch. Sometimes it's a shidduch that doesn't work. You could try for this shalom bayis machadeh, but it's just going to fall apart. It's not going to work. If we get that, that's supposed to bring us back to situations where people are not in their comfort zone, just having a good time. It's a war. It's frightening. It's all kinds of things, and you're thinking, what's gonna happen in the north? And then there's Iraq and and the Houthim, all these kind of terror organizations, and everybody's sending missiles. The pachad itself, the pachad is a good zach. If you know how to take it to the right place, the concept is that you should be'emes not take comfort from what you used to take comfort. You should it's not the Benoyo. There's a sefer Benoyo from the Ben Ish Chai. So he explains on this Gemara, Shalosh Matanis Toivos. He says it's very simple. The Rebbe Shem wants to test people and see if they want the physical matana or they want the spiritual. So the Rebbe Shem sends Yisurim, and he says, do you want to have the land of Eretz Yisrael? You want to have the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael? So Berega there's Yisurim, so we see who stays around, who's still interested. If someone is not interested because of that, he says, let me just get out of the mess. Okay? Then we knew that he didn't want that. What is the real Eretz Yisrael? The real Eretz Yisrael is the V'shaftam al Oretz Levetach. That means that a person has no breda, and they start taking chiyas from the right place. Now, if a person is mizboinen, then they're going to find something fascinating. The same thought process, like we called it earlier, iyov, that a person goes through as an individual when his life all of a sudden is not smiling in the way it used to. When something really, it's a big nisayon that came upon him. And they start blaming, and they start feeling, okay, don't worry, it's just a matter of a few months, I'm going to get back on my feet. They feel all kinds of machshavas, they didn't get to the right place yet. And then we're waiting for them to have a geula. That's the same thought process that goes through people's minds in times of war. Same mahalach. That means first it's blaming. Like you see the media, the whole sugi is, okay, he's the one to blame. He's the one to blame. They're busy. There's nothing going out of their mind. It's the Pshat says, it's not a political sugya. It's psychologically the nefesh, the person goes somewhere when they're very, very hurt. They have to blame someone. If a person's not with the Torah, people think it's because the lefties, they want to blame, they want to say he's the one. It's deeper than that. That's already the second shlav that they're going to decide who to blame. But the being obsessed with who to blame, it makes no sense. Think about it. It's the middle of a war. It's not simple. It's not simple, the matziv. All these shakir, it's not simple. And people are busy day and night. They're obsessed. They can't get a word out of their mouth. They're busy with blaming. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. Are you an adult? Who talks about Amunah right now? The answer is, and it's something that we should learn from. It's not stam. We should learn from it. Look, that is the instinct of a person when they feel hurt, they feel abused, they feel uncomfortable, they feel the security is shaking. The number one what they do is, first of all, I'm going to blame. After I'm going to finish blaming, we'll see then, I'm going to feel more comfortable because of him. So if you're going to take him away, then no, they don't have that brain to go further. It doesn't make any sense what you're saying, but it's an instinct. People do it in their own life, in their personal life. That's what they're doing. when something spills, when something breaks in the house, when something is not the way it's supposed to, first screaming, first pointing fingers. I told you. I knew it. I knew it's going to happen. It always works. This whole, it's a mahalach of thinking. Watch it. Don't fall into that rut and see if a person watches that everybody acts like that, if they're not working on themselves, then you should realize a person, this Milchama Be'emes brings out how deep it goes, how far it goes. The people that are running this Milchama, not only people in the media, the people that should be, they know the information that's going on, and they're still busy. They can't get their mind off it. It is him, it's not him, it's this one, it's the other one, which anyways happens to be, all of the above is not true. But it doesn't make it different because the mind is looking for that. Then it bounces back. If it's not blaming, take if it bounces back to Koichi V'Otzim Yodi. It's like fascinating how clear cut it is. That, no, that's it. Now, I'm going to be so strong, you're going to see I'm going to be able to. But it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Every time it has a different name. It can't work because it's the same system. Because Yisurim, now a person as an individual, and Klal Yisrael as a Klal, cannot be Zeicha to Geula, can be Zeicha to Eretz Yisrael, as long as you're playing this game. It's just not, it doesn't bring Geula. So every time you're going to say it in a different nusach, every time you say, oh, he's going to do a better job. It's fascinating, the concept of democracies, that they have elections. So you play ping pong. That means every time, after however many years it is, if it's in the States, it's like 4 years, or 80, whatever it is. And here, it just, whenever it's boring, whenever it gets too much, so they start again. If it's not that, then they go in the cities, they make election. So, what's the ping pong? He couldn't do a good job, so now B'dafka, we'll take the other one. So it goes by, because the way the Anshim runs the world, so you go to the other one. And like that, you play the game a whole life. Did you ever think to stop? Did you ever think, how long am I going to play this game? And it works. Oilam goilam. In the whole world of democracies, what are these lectures? Make America great again. All the problems, COVID, of course I told you. Yeah, everything. I'm going to stop the war in 24 hours in Russia and Ukraine. This, it's so childish. It's like, mamish, I don't even know if a 5-year-old still thinks like that. But it's the concept of, he doesn't know how to do it, but I'm going to know how to do it. But instead of looking at others, we should see it as a mirror, and it should help us observe that be'etzim, that's what we are doing to our little mechomas, or the big ones, like the Milchama Agdoila. The real mechomas that we have, we're doing the same mahalach. That means we play that ping pong, and we say, yeah, because, but now I'm going to do it differently. Now I'm going to be successful. And it didn't work again, so we then say, again, it's because we have him to blame. And then we say, well, I'm going to do it better. Until a person gets to the emes. When he gets to that emes, that's called Torah. But it's very painful. Now, a person has bekoyach to make it less painful. It means there's no Gzeres HaKosov, there's no posik that you have to go through for 50 years, this parsha. You could do it bekitze. That means, like the Welt says, it's a famous word, but it brings out the concept very, very clear. That what's the difference between a chochem and a tippish, between someone that's smart and someone that's dumb. The difference is, everybody makes mistakes. Just the chacham tries not to make the same mistakes. Someone that's dumb is just repeating again and again the same mistakes. A chacham, once they went through this, he says, 1 second, but I was here already. This I tried already, so that not. So he gets to the conclusion much quicker. He doesn't over and over and over again. That's the avoid of a person in any area. Ruchnius and a job and money and a shidduch and health. The concept is, the earlier you're going to get it, the less you're going to suffer. which in other words is Be'ita and Achishena. That means the earlier you get it, you could go into Eretz Yisrael right away. You don't have to have all the Yisurim. You have to have the back and forth because you have to go through this Iyov a little bit. Iyov is a concept. The Gemara says, yes, there's a shita that Iyov lehoyo v'lo nivra. It's just that he was used as there's a word for it. You make up a fake image to be able to have the back and forth, to be able to show what Strawman. That means there's such a shita. There's a Milta de B'dichas about that. That one of the Gedolim, he said that the worst Yisurim that Iyov had is that a shita in the Gemara came along and said that it was never happened. That was like the worst that someone could say. But it's be'emes a shita. But even if we don't know like that shita, it's a limud godel. That's the Yisurim. The Yisurim is when the person is talking like that. And whenever you finish the Sefer, you could do it quickly. You don't have to sit 50 years making those same mistakes. That brings geula for a person. The faster and the quicker. Now, you could see people while they're going through matzavim. You could watch them in shul. You could watch if a person has some close family or neighbors or whatever it is, friends. You could see this person is suffering. That sentence with that krechts is never said when a person's going through something. It's usually said when you're watching that person struggle. They're going through a struggle now. They're fighting. That fight is Yisurim. But if you make sure to inch up a whole time, that fight is bringing you to the end. That is the Torah. That is Eretz Yisrael. That's the concept. Now, it is days that we have the opportunity not to let ourselves work with programmed ways of thinking. Constantly, a person should remind himself tshuva and tehillim and bitochen, and once again, and then you have to say it over to every sentence a person says, and every skier and every piece of news that now shakes the person again. Once again, there's tshuva, there's tehillim, there's bitochen. Chozer chalila. When you're doing that, you're helping the geula happen, because that's the essence of geula. That's the yesod that brings Torah Eretz Yisrael and Olam Haba. So David should help. We should be able to be zeichet Eretz Yisrael quickly. A geula shlema.
Is it